Today we're going to finally take a look at all my storage bins. I've been meaning to make a video on this for quite a while, mostly because it's quick and easy in theory, but also just because who doesn't like organization of weird electronics crap? Better not answer that. Anyway, currently I have 5 of them. I'm probably going to order a 5th just to fill out the section. There's 2 designs I've been using. I have just one of these smaller ones, which have the very small plastic drawers. These are the unbreakable ones. They're flexible. The old school ones, like when I was a kid, were brittle plastic that would crack really easily. These ones kind of warp a little bit, but they're not too bad. These are not proper electronics storage units. They are not electrostatic designed plastic. They're not metallized plastic or anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, really, I shouldn't be using them for electronics, but I don't really have anything too important to put in these. And besides, most of the ICs and stuff I have in anti-static bags, so it's not a huge deal. Like I said, I only have the one small one. They also have these larger ones, and there's also a 3rd design. These are Akro-Mils. You can just look them up on Amazon, and they've got all the models. They're like 30 bucks a piece, 28 bucks. And yeah, so these are the larger ones. I really wish they would make a version that had 2 per row. Like this was 1 drawer, and this was 1 drawer. Because I have a lot of stuff that would it's just slightly too big to fit in one of these drawers, and it would be really nice if I could put, you know, spools of wire in here. Not like big spools, but, you know, just something, yeah, just bigger stuff. Or even one that they were joined like this, because then I could do stuff like put in all my just wire, because it will obviously not fit in one of these. So, you know, just little things like that. I would just wish they had more designs. They have a 3rd design that is half large and half small, but I saw no reason to get that. I mean, I'm not even using all the small ones here. And, you know, I'm practically at the point where I'd rather just have all of these, like maybe even just replace this, but it's not really worth the time or effort to do that. So on top I've got just a bunch of crap. I've got like an ultrasonic cleaner from eBay that kind of works, some screw sets, little containers, my USB microscope, spare paper, and nice old school ohm ranger, which lets you dial in a specific resistance. And I just store some of my various sprays and whatnot on top of these. Now I've been labeling these. Some of them aren't labeled just because you know, they're either temporary or I haven't filled the drawers yet. I've been using an Epson label maker thing. I forgot what the model is, but it's just like a $40 label maker. So we'll go through this. This one we can largely skip. This is just resistors and stuff. They're all like cheap resistors, although I do have some ones that I specifically ordered. And we got caps and stuff. For some reason I took them out of the little bags they came in originally. I kind of regret that. So some of them aren't in bags. These are very common ones. I've got different types. I've kind of just mixed them all together, just separated by individual value. This one obviously has quite a few in there. And empty rotary encoders, some kind of missile. These are all light sensors and tilt sensors and stuff like that. Down here we've got chokes, diodes, more diodes, some bigger caps, diodes. So yeah, nothing too special. These do have dividers that you can optionally put in, and I have in a couple places like here, just because I don't have too many of each value for some of these, and it's just more efficient to use up the space. Audio caps, yeah, so that's kind of the more boring drawer, because it's really just components. Up here I've got a big drawer of miscellaneous ICs that I hope to decap one day. They're you know, I need to use like dangerous chemicals to do that, so I'm waiting until I get around to doing that. And there's some other various electronics parts in there that I'm just storing. This has just like spare stuff. It also has my teeny tiny quadcopter, some speakers and whatnot, motors, GPS and radio stuff, various sensors, clock crystals, that sort of thing, test connectors, MOSFETs. A lot of this is SMD stuff, so it's all just in anti-static bags. As you can see, caps, resistors, inductors, all the usual stuff, various SMD switches, both toggle and momentary, LEDs, various inductors, both pulled and ones that I've just bought over the years, Peltier coolers and little thermostats, stuff like that. Not sure if I'm going to be able to get into these with the book or the paper in the way, but there's a couple like flyback transformers and stuff in there, flex connectors, some old panel meters which we can't get in there. This is just spare stuff like extra switches and stuff. I didn't want to fill up all the drawers, so some of them I just saved in the back, and we'll I'll put them in there when I run out. Various audio components like needles for my record player, that sort of thing, little bumpers and feet, some electronics kits that I've built, and also some that are waiting to be built. Sometimes I like to just solder stuff, so I buy really crappy kits on eBay. This is not a crappy kit. This is the very, very nice Mighty Ohm Geiger counter that I built, and a piece of naturally occurring uranium, which is oddly enough legal, and wire terminals, a shitty logic analyzer, some big power resistors, big caps, lots of relays. I do like relays, bare PCBs, more PCBs, various terminal blocks, that sort of thing, battery holders, both lithium ion and standard like alkaline, and PCB based battery holders, some old 7400 and 4000 series logic, some various adapters, serial stuff which I have to use from time to time, fancy serial LCDs, a couple big ones, smaller ones. These are like the Nokia design ones, like that. These are just character LCDs. These are like the standard LCDs that you first start using when you're using an Arduino or something. I also have some serial adapters on that, on some of them. Various barrel jacks for DC inputs. I've got some little adapters which are quite convenient when you're testing out stuff. Op amps, various heat sinks that I've gathered over the years. These push pins that you can buy on eBay for really cheap are actually really useful, because a lot of stuff, especially networking equipment, the heat sinks either come off, or if you have to take them off, such as you're doing a teardown video, they never want to come back on. The little push pins never work, and they use really crappy ones. These ones are like really easy to use and push on really easily, so I just picked up some of those and they work really well. Heat shrink tubing, high power LEDs with a couple of power supplies, a whole bunch of microcontrollers, various types, mostly Atmel. I really only use Atmel, and even that I barely know how to use. Various standoffs, the nylon and brass ones mostly. Various connectors, audio connectors, power connectors, and switches. These are all momentary ones, and I've got a few different types. Some are pulls, some are new. These are all toggle switches, big ones, small ones. There's also some dip switches in there, I think, too. And what else we have here? These are just miscellaneous ICs, just ones that don't fit with anything else. Various IC adapters. These are very useful. These are for my EEPROM programmer, and you get cool stuff like this one that can do quad flat pack. And moving along, we've got various DC to DC converters pulled from stuff. You might recognize some from old teardowns. I think these are from the PBX system I tore down a long time ago. I don't know if I'll ever use them, but they're kind of interesting. These are kind of standalone USB and whatnot, DC to DC converters. A whole bunch of headers, Header pins, which you can never have too many of. Man, you go through those so quickly when designing stuff or just fixing stuff. And LED matrices, and like really fancy older ones, again from that PBX. And just regular LEDs in there. And in here I've got, for some reason I have a stupid vacuum desoldering pump in here. Actually, I'm going to throw this away because that thing sucks. And here, these are just EEPROMs and stuff, and I don't think I had enough room for that adapter. Or maybe I did. There we go. Keep everything organized. So yeah, spare EEPROMs and flash. These are PCB mount arrays of LEDs, which are really nice. They're usually from networking equipment. And pots, trim pots for boards. These are varying in quality. Some of them are really good ones that I've pulled from stuff. Some are just crap eBay ones. Various regulators, pulled and new. Lots of fuses, because you never know when you'll need a fuse of a specific type. And we've got wire ties and organization, weird adapters, you know, BNC, all sorts of stuff. Because again, you never know when you're going to need that sort of stuff. USB devices, weird stuff like this Canon flash card, and which I'll probably do a short video on. It's not too interesting though. And just like, you know, CF cards, that sort of thing. This is just the flash programmer I mentioned. It's just a USB one, generic. It works quite well. Got some soldering supplies in here. You know, you got your spare solder, your spare wick, and other stuff. Various USB cables, most of which are in use. We've got some really nice test leads in here. This is probably the most expensive wire I've ever owned. It is a 4-wire measurement Kelvin test lead. Very high quality, made by Pomona. Very nice. I think they're like 250 bucks new. Some oscilloscope probes. These are various projects I've made over the years. You know, the typical stuff like a 555 timer, keyboard, humidity sensor, and these are boards I've actually made and had printed out by Osh Park. And these are prototype boards that I use when testing stuff. You know, you slap it on an Arduino and you can get the circuit right before you actually make a proper PCB. I've also got a power supply that I put together. And various lithium batteries. I like to keep them in little bags so they're not touching each other. And regular AA's. You can never have too many of those. Arduino shields, some which are made, some which are blank, some of which have displays and stuff on them. Arduinos, both original and clones. I've got pretty much all the various ones. Jumper wires. This is my DMM Check Plus, which is a very, very good calibrator. You know, very inexpensive. It's only like $100 and it works really well. Various thermal pastes and syringes for paste and whatnot. And some IC sockets. These are, you know, not just ICs. I've obviously got some vacuum tube ones in there, and yeah, just usual stuff. USB. This is both connectors and a couple little adapters and whatnot, and controller ICs. Storage bags. These things end up everywhere in these drawers because they like fall out and stuff, but they're very useful. Various processors that you know, eventually will go into a system or get just archived in my nice CPU collection and IC collection. Yeah, I've got giant Pentium Pro in there. Screws, metric screws, tape, capped on, double-sided, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's it. And my arm is killing me. This camera is not too heavy, but when you're holding it with a big light attached to it, it hurts. Yeah, this is the first video I've actually shot with my new camera. This is the Canon EOS M3. I had the M1. I was using that for most of my videos, but or the recent ones at least. But we went to Paris and I decided I wanted to upgrade to something better. This has a movable screen and stuff like that, so I get the advantage of being able to shoot high up, and I can adjust this display so I can see stuff like that. And I can also shoot back at me, so if I ever want to appear in a video again, I can. Although I'm usually too lazy to clean up my desk enough that I can do that. And yeah, so I'm really liking the M3 so far, and hopefully it has better audio quality than the M1, because the M1, even though I'm using an external microphone, the audio had a really high amount of hiss in the background. You wouldn't really notice it when you're just listening to it, but if you're listening to it on headphones, it was very noticeable. Like I would hear it all the time, and it's very difficult to remove. You can do de-hiss, but it makes the audio sound bad anyway. Plus, I don't want to have to do it with 800 million clips for every freaking video I do. So, you know, I just like a camera that records audio nicely. Nor do I want to record it separately, because then again, I have to line them all. And if a video is like 20 different shots, 30 different shots, I really don't want to do it 20 or 30 different times. This also has dual pixel autofocus built in. It uses phase detection just like an SLR. So it should actually focus pretty well, and it seems to have been, at least on the display. I don't know how well the video is going to turn out in the end, but this is the first video I've been able to shoot with autofocus on the M's, because the other one used contrast detect and it was pretty crappy, so I always shot manual focus. I'm currently using the 18 to 55 millimeter IS because I'm handheld, so I can zoom a bit, and I think I'm too close to focus. There we go. That's not too bad. So yeah, I'm liking it so far. I've got a few lenses for it, and I'm probably going to pick up a few more.